Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads on and emerge victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. And whether you are dealing with health challenges, professional setbacks, or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there is a path to hope and triumph. So join us, everyone, as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So be prepared to be inspired and to find the strength to navigate life's challenges. And I would like to say a huge thank you to all the watchers, those listeners as well. A big thank you to all of you, and to everybody who is new, welcome to the channel. So really happy to have all of you here. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars, Venus, life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, compassion practitioner, and chakra practitioner. And today, I am super excited to introduce you all to my very special guest. Her name is Rayna Schroeder. She is a leadership coach. Rayna holds multiple degrees, including business and positive psychology. Rayna is certified in multiple assessments, and she is also a published co-author of the book called Becoming a Servant Leader, a workbook for bringing skill and spirit to professional and personal life. So, very warm welcome, Rayna, to Amazing You.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you for being here, for taking your time. And I am too. I have been really waiting for that time that we can have that connection, that conversation today. Thank you. Thank you, Rayna.
Thank you as well.
And my first question, Rayna, to you. Can you please share with us briefly about your journey that had led you to become a leadership coach?
I'm happy to. Like many people whose purpose is to help others, my story started with trying to help myself. I can remember a time back in the early 2000s. I was a consultant at the time, and I was miserable at work. I hated Sunday nights, dreaded going in on Monday mornings. I would tell friends and family that I felt like a little piece of my soul was dying every day I went into the office. And looking back, there were two big reasons for that. One was certainly me looking around at everyone else as the problem instead of looking in the mirror. And the other big reason was because of the leadership team that I was working with at the time. Because I believe if you're a leader, you can essentially create one of two environments. The first environment invites people in, excites them, motivates them, makes them want to be there and perform at their best. The other environment a leader can create makes people want to run away and quit. And sometimes people do. People quit mentally and emotionally, but they still show up physically for the paycheck.
Yeah.
Worst of all worlds in my mind, just kind of going through the motions at work. Because I believe life is too short to be miserable, especially at work, since we spend so much of our time there. So I was fortunate to be able to turn my situation around with work, research, and time. And now as a leadership coach, I help my clients do that in months and weeks instead of the years that it took me to be able to find enjoyment, meaning, and energy at work, to thrive at work instead of just survive.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Rayna, for sharing part of your story with us today. And is there any specific time in your life or any turning points that have led you to that realization that you don't want to continue the path where you were before? Is there any specific point in time?
For me, it was back when I was feeling, soul dying at work. And I remember a specific conversation I had with my supervisor, my leader at the time, and it was about performance appraisals. And he called me in and he said, I want to talk to you about your leadership style. And basically, you are not being a good leader. And I said, let me breathe through that. And I said, can you tell me more? And he said, because when you're not here, everything runs just fine. If you were a good leader, your team wouldn't know what to do, and it would be a crisis that you would have to come in and solve. So you're not a good leader because your team is not in crisis when you're not around. And I thought, wow. And I said, you and I have a fundamental difference about what good leadership is. For me, it is equipping my team to be able to handle anything that comes their way, to give them the confidence, the education, the skill, the ability to do that, and not rely on me as some hero to come in and save the day. That's a recipe for disaster if I can't be here. And so I remember leaving that meeting and thinking that I cannot be successful here because of that fundamental difference. And that was when I decided I am going to pursue my passion, which I'd been thinking about for years, and become a certified leadership coach and consultant and start my own business. And that happened back in 2006. So it's been almost 20 years since I've been doing this work.
Wow. Wow, that's very brave of you, to be able to leave that corporate job, because I know how hard it is for people to have a regular paycheck and to leave that. And then because in a business, you have ups and downs, and you have to learn, you have to keep growing. So there are different challenges that you very different from what you experience in corporate. Yeah. And I'm really happy to see that you are thriving in your business because you followed your passion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I work with clients on this too, and it can be really scary to leave your full-time job. And leaving without a plan is not what I would recommend for clients. Even though, to be honest, that's exactly what I did. I left without a plan. So I think I made it harder on myself than it needed to be. And now in working with clients who choose that path, we can explore much more that says, do you need this steady paycheck? Do you have other options? Can you do something on the side? If you're comfortable and you have the finances and support of your family, can you make the move? And what is your plan going forward? So you feel like you have some solid ground underneath you rather than quicksand.
And that is so important, to think carefully what are the different ways you can make money, or even if you have to stay in the job for a few years until you build a business, because the business will require a lot of investment as you build the business.
Yes, very true.
Thank you for sharing that, because some people just think of quitting their job and then they don't have any plan B. So it's so important to have really align your goals, align what is your plan for the future. Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you. And Rayna, you were talking earlier that working in corporate, many people don't like when it comes to Sunday evening, because they know what's happening on Monday. And I have received messages of people telling me, oh no, they don't like when it's Monday and they don't like their job. So what would you tell those people who are working in such jobs, and what advice would you like to give them today if they are in that position?
Yeah. I can remember being in that position and thinking how stuck I felt. that I felt like I didn't have any options at that point, that it was either stay and be miserable or quit. Those were my only two options. And my invitation for people listening is to realize you have many more options than just those two. When I talk through this with clients, you can reach out to others that are experiencing similar things to you, other teammates. If you're having a difficult relationship with your boss, reach out to other teammates, see how they're dealing with that, or other mentors or coaches that you have around you. And if you get to the point where you are looking for another job, being able to reach out to your network to find those possibilities as you learn to live with your current situation. And living with your current situation doesn't mean you have to be miserable about it all the time. You can choose that, yes, this is a situation that I don't like, but rather than fight against it and resist it all the time, people can learn to accept it. And acceptance doesn't mean acquiesce. Accept means I'm going to choose not to fight against this, because I am going to choose to live with this for a while and not rage quit. I had a client share that statement with me the other day. So I'm going to choose to approach this in a way that doesn't make me crazy anymore. If I have to live with this, I want to be in a way that I can take care of myself, keep my reputation intact, network, and contribute in a way that makes me feel good at the end of the day. And those are all choices people have, but you have to realize that you even have those choices and you aren't as stuck as you might think you are.
Yes, Rayna, that is so true. When we start to look for solutions, we do find solutions, but when we start to think only of the problem, we find more problems. We attract what we emit to the world. We attract that back to us. We are a mirror of what is inside of us, so we'll attract that on the outside. And you talk at the very beginning again, you talk about the leader that you had, who had a very different approach to managing people and to leading people compared to you. And at this time, where we are right now, there are so many of these leaders, they are not really leaders. There are so many of these managers, I would call them, because leaders don't behave like that. And we can see these organizations that are thriving, whereas those that are going through bankruptcy and really struggling at this time financially. So you wrote a book, you co-authored a book, and which ties very well into that, which is about becoming a servant leader. So what, according to you, are some of the traits of a great leader, of a servant leader?
For me, when I was introduced to the concept of servant leadership, I resonated with it immediately. It's the idea of being of service to others. That leadership is not about power, money, turf, controlling people. It is really about being of service. And when I've found leaders like that, it is a gift to work with them, because they're always asking, what can I do for my team, for my people? How can I show up in a way that inspires others, that makes people want to be there and perform at their best? And it's a great opportunity to hold the mirror up, to look at themselves about how they are showing up, what's working, what's not working. And I love that, because for me, I think that's one of the foundational places of good leadership, is being willing to look at myself as a leader and how am I positively or not so positively influencing others. And for me, at my core, I really want to show up as having a positive impact on others. And that's why the name of my company is Positive Impact Leaders. And it's how do I show up in a way that makes that positive impact and makes the difference that I, as a leader, want to make in the world.
Thank you, Rayna. Thank you. That is so true. It starts always with ourselves, and we are all leaders in our own way. We don't need to be in a high position to be a leader, because the first leader that we are is in our own life. how we manage, how we navigate life challenges.
Right. It's not about a title or a rank. It's about how we are leading our own lives and how am I showing up leading my life and having a positive influence on myself.
Yeah. Because if we live a life of authenticity, of integrity, of service to others, of compassion, it will reflect, it will have ripple effects on others and people will see it. So it starts
Yeah,
with ourselves. Yeah.
it does.
Thank you. Thank you, Rayna. And my other question to you is looking back at your journey of everything you've experienced, what has been the most surprising lesson that you've learned?
Ah, it's interesting. I'll share one that was a very recent lesson, and I'll share it in terms of a story.
Yeah.
My younger brother and I have never been particularly close. And last fall, my relationship with him was so strained that I debated whether to continue to have a relationship with him. Every conversation or interaction left me mad, sad, or both. And it was consuming so much of my headspace. I can't believe he said that. I should have said this. It was exhausting. And at the same time, I was taking a class. It was a 7-week course on learning more about the negative, fear-based voices we all have in our heads and turning those down and turning up the positive, wise, sage voices in our head. And through that, I was able to see things about myself that I hadn't been able to see before, my judgments, my behaviors that were really negatively impacting my relationship with my brother. And now my husband says, you've talked more to your brother in the last 3 months than you have in the last 10 years. And I found that course so life-changing that now I deliver that same 7-week course to others, hoping it will have the same impact on their relationships and their well-being as it did mine. So what surprised me about that was I have been in the field of leadership development for my entire career, decades, and I'm still learning things about myself and how I'm showing up and how my judgments show up that are influencing my relationships and my life. And I was actually both, embarrassed and thrilled about that I hadn't been able to see that before. So it was just a great reminder that no matter how much any of us have learned, there is still more we can learn about ourselves and about how we interact with the world.
Thank you. That's very beautifully said. And thank you for sharing that story and for sharing a story which is even very recent, because on that life journey, it's like we are always learning, always growing. And the best way to learn and grow is through our relationships.
Yes.
It always happens through our relationship, whether it's a friend, a partner, brother, siblings, work colleagues. That's where we grow. That's where we evolve, is because we can't evolve alone in a forest. We can't.
No.
We
And some
won't
of
get
those
tested. We won't
right.
yeah, we won't get tested there. We would just sit in meditation, but nothing will happen. Everything will stay stuck inside. But through those relationships, it's like the triggers. We need to address those triggers when they come up.
Yes, you're right. You can't live in a vacuum or at a mountaintop. That's not where the growth happens. It's
Yes.
having those relationship challenges and facing those fears.
Yes. And we are very lucky to be able as a human being to have those emotions, to then be able to reflect on them, because we are not robots. So we have this ability to think, to reflect, to go from our heart centered space and to make changes. So that's the beauty of being a human being. So we have to be grateful, everybody, to be a spiritual being in that physical body and having that human experience, that physical experience. So don't take this for granted, even if we are going through tough times, because the tough
Yes.
times, they do make us stronger.
They do. And I like to believe that the universe is working for us. It is conspiring for our highest and best good. So whatever the challenges I'm facing, my question, once I've gotten over the anger or sadness or whatever that emotion is around it, it's to ask myself, what can I learn from this? What am I meant to learn from this? And sometimes you can't be there in the moment with that question. It's too hard. But sometimes looking back on it, you can think, yes, I've experienced so much growth because of that. But sometimes you can't see it until you look back rather than being in it.
Yes. And Steve Jobs used to say, you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Rayna. And my other question to you is, what do you do on a daily basis to refill your own cup? Because you do a great job of helping others to refill theirs. So how do you fill yours?
Oh, I love that question. I think the most powerful thing I do, I would say two things. One is I began meditating regularly several years ago, and I had heard about it and read about it, and it was great and on and off. But for me, that constant practice has really helped me center myself, be able to do that self-reflection, feel all of my emotions, but not necessarily act on them. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest ways I fill my cup is through my routine meditation practice. And the other is I have a morning routine. You'll notice a theme of routines. I have a morning routine that helps me start my day in a positive way, a positive place emotionally, mentally. I choose 3 things I want to focus on for the day. And so the analogy that I like to think about is I start my day on this upward spiral. And then when things happen, when stuff hits the fan, I can deal with it in a more constructive, positive way because I've already filled myself up with that positive energy. So then I can look at things in a way that's much more positive. And without that, and sometimes on vacation or if I'm not feeling well, if I don't do those for several days, I can feel I'm starting my day in a negative downward spiral instead. And then when things happen, I'm already at a negative balance. And so it's bigger than it is, or I deal with it in a much, bigger, more difficult way than I need to. So that regular morning routine to start that upward spiral, I would say is probably the second way that I really fill my cup.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because how we start our day will direct the rest of our day. And I do that as well. And I know so many people don't have a routine, or they have a routine where they read the newspaper, and they fill their mind with all the negative things. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope the audience can take something and start to apply to their life every morning to change their routine, change your habits, because when we change your routine and change your habits, you change your life.
Beautifully said. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And my other question to you, Rayna, for individuals today who are listening and who are watching us, who are facing some tough times, what advice or steps can you offer to navigate and eventually overcome adversity?
I think each of us faces adversity in our own way. And being willing to do some self-reflection, we talked about that earlier, about what's worked for me in the past when I've faced adversity. How can I reach in and do those things again? I think can be really powerful to deal with and overcome adversity. Now, don't get me wrong, wine and chocolate have their place, but probably not a good long-term strategy in dealing with adversity. So my invitation would be go back to the things you know work. And if trying those things don't work, that's an opportunity to lean on your support system, friends, family, coaches, therapists, to be able to explore other ways that people cope with adversity and try new things. Try a meditation practice or a gratitude practice or journaling. There are so many ways that people can deal with adversity. I think we need to find the things that work well for us. Journaling was something I mentioned. I had friends tout its virtue and I tried it and it really didn't work for me. And I'm thinking I'm doing it wrong and I'm beating myself up. And finally I thought, it's just not for me. Put it down and try something else. There are so many other things that you can do. But I think you need to be willing to experiment, try things on and see if they work for you. And if they do, great. Make those part of your regular routine.
Yes, that's true. That's so true. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rayna. We are coming very close towards the end of the podcast. And my last question to you, how can people stay updated or get in touch with you, Rayna?
The easiest way is through my website, which is Positive Impact Leaders. And if you type in Rayna Schroeder, you'll be able to find that website instantly. I'm also happy to share my direct email address. People can email me questions and ask me about my upcoming 7-week course if that's of interest. And my email address is Rayna, Rayna, at positiveimpactleaderswithans.com.
Thank you for sharing your links. And it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast and the YouTube channel, Rayna. I wish you a lot of success in everything that you do. And thank you for sharing your very precious time with the audience today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. And I love that this channel and your podcast is all about uplifting others and inspiring hope. We need this. The world needs this. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. And any final message before we finish?
Just to be able to invite people to recognize that they have options that they may not see, and almost any step you take, it almost doesn't matter what you do differently. If you're willing to take that step and see that option, that will lead you down a path for further options and further actions. Don't believe that you're stuck and don't have any options, because you have many more options than you might see.
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful message. Thank you to the audience for watching, for sharing, for listening, and for subscribing. And again, a huge thank you to Rayna for being here today. All the best, Rayna, and we'll talk to you very soon again. Take care, everybody. See you all. Bye.